I have with me today Annika Van Den Brook. She is the CEO and founder of Australia's award-winning pet care brand, Rufus and Coco. Annika, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
And so it sounds like you were incredibly business-minded from a young age. Was that something encouraged in your household? Did your parents instill or nurture an entrepreneurial spirit in you?
Not at all. I think that they were happy with the fact that I was entertaining myself and therefore out of the way, I'll be honest. I know that I used to gloss over, look at the glossy magazines that Mum used to bring home, the Vogue, and I used to see these, I used to see these women in power suits with all their shoulder pads, and I thought, oh, maybe one day I could be a bit like that. So that was kind of my inspiration. Truthfully, my mother was a stay-home mum, and she kept on saying things like, I wished I could have, I should have. And I, in many ways, that's what spurred me to kind of, I didn't want to be someone that grew up and wished I could have or should have. And in fact, many years later, when I went to go and do my MBA, my first qualification was in fashion design, which is why so many of our products are quite fashionable. My parents campaigned for a good month to stop me doing that because they had no aspirations for me aside from, being a mum, which I am and I'm very proud of being. But truthfully, I feel like I've been born to do this, and but it took many years to kind of realize that I, in fact, was an entrepreneur at heart. And I think in many ways, what makes an entrepreneur, and when I look at it even through my corporate background, it's someone that likes to work independently, likes to get things done their way, likes to create things. And certainly that's always been me.
Amazing. And I love this story from when you were very young and your dad sort of instilling this wonderful spirit in you that must have given you confidence that I know you carry with you even today. Tell us that story.
Oh, that's a good story. So my father was a big Dutchman. My name is Annika Van Den Brook. But my mother was Australian. And so if you can imagine a man that's like 6'4", that's built like Arnold Schwarzenegger and has a very thick Dutch accent, and was kind of terrifying as a kid when you were sort of this big and he's this massive man, but more terrifying when you heard that accent. He would even make the idea of kind of like giving you a cookie sound terrifying. Would you like a cookie? Is kind of what he'd do. Yeah. And I grew up in Killarney Heights, and it was a really hot day that day, and so hot that even to kind of sit on the edge of the swimming pool, you'd burn your buttocks, like one of those days. And my dad took it upon himself to decide to teach me how to swim. And he said, and today, Anne, he used to call me Anne, but with his accent, today, Anne, you will go swim to the end of the pool and you will swim back again. And of course, I'm like looking up at him, looking across at the pool. I was kind of at the age where I hadn't even gone past the stairs of the pool. It was still at the age where I thought there were sharks in the pool. You made up that there were creatures in the pool and stuff. And he said, and so he very roughly pulled my dinky dipper over my head, which is like a wahoo vest, like an inflatable thing to make sure I don't sink to the bottom like a stone. And he said, but before you go, you will tell yourself 3 times, you can do anything you want to if you try. And I looked up at him and I said, and knowing that, he was a very forceful character, there was no getting out of that moment of attempting to swim past the stairs. That's kind of what I thought I was doing. And so I said to him, I can do anything I want to if I try. And he said to me, louder. And I said, I can do anything I want to if I try. And he said, louder. And I said, I can do anything I want to if I try. And that day I swam, probably dog paddled my way all the way to the end and all the way back again. And actually just couldn't believe it. And I think it's those moments where you're completely terrified, completely outside your comfort zone, trying something you've never done before, that you grow. And certainly the lessons from those experiences are what shape us. And, that's been my mantra today. I can do anything I want to if I try.
Amazing. So looking at your business journey, to me, it seems like a pretty much a dream run. You started off in the fashion industry, like you said, You're working for big brands like David Jones, Carlos and Patty. You then scored an executive management role at vitamin giant Blackmores, all at the ripe age of 29. You then moved to Bonds and then became general manager of Sportscraft. Then you hit a bit of a bump in the road. Tell us about what happened then.
I think this was the best thing that ever happened to me, but I have to say at the time it was completely disastrous, you know, because here was I think I could do anything I wanted if I tried, and then I got made redundant. And for anyone that's ever been made redundant, you know it hurts. It hurts your pride, it hurts your ego. You spend way too many times ruminating over what you could have, should have, would have done differently. And I was no different to that. And I'm very thankful that my girlfriend Jinska, as I call her real name is Virginia Patterson, whom I see most mornings down at Balmoral running, but she was made redundant at the same time. So the two of us decided we'd hop off to Bali and go and ponder life. And so there I was with a few too many cocktails by the pool, and I pulled up the cocktail envelope, rather napkin, and I started to write down what I was going to do next. And look, I had many ideas of what I could do, but actually the one thing that I've always cared about more than anything is animal welfare. You know, I grew up in a family owning, and I've to date owned over more than 50 animals. And I really believe, as do 91% of Australians, that pets become like our best friends. I really believe that they're good for our physical and our mental well-being. But I was very frustrated with the gap in the market for very fashionable, affordable, more natural alternatives for pets. And so on that notepad, I wrote to create a trusted household name with original inspired pet care products sold into Australasia. And of course, you know, 12 years later, we're now global. So it's been quite a ride.
Fantastic. Do you think sitting there in Bali with the serviette, sort of penning this idea, did you have any real belief that it would get as big as it has? Has it exceeded your expectations even in that moment?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
You know, I used to say to people, you know, I would call myself an entrepreneur. Like, I thought I had a good idea. Honestly, everyone I spoke to told me it wasn't a good idea. The people I respected. And so, you know, I remember we won Micro Business Award winner in 2016. At this time, we're an Australasian brand. And so that's 4 years ago. And I just remember sort of thinking to myself, well, what's next? I already did that. What's next? And of course, you know, going global is what was next.
Fantastic. And I know you speak a lot about finding your passion and harnessing that power to create a business idea. We've all got passions, some more pronounced than others. What's your advice for tapping into that? I mean, how do you find that passion?
Yeah, I love that. I think, you know, I think it's thinking about what you like doing and what you don't like doing. It's kind of as simple as that. You can ask your friends when they think of you, you know, what are the things they think of you and what they think of doing, you doing. Have a look at your Instagram feed or what you follow on, I don't know, Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook, and, you know, see where you spend your time looking. Like if you looked at my Facebook feed, it would have animals, fashion, yoga, some health related things, and probably travel. So, you know, like if you look at yourself and you look at your own behavior, that's actually where your interests lie. But I think the thing is that a lot of people don't start until they're kind of like, well, I haven't found the thing yet, you know. And look, even at Rufus and Coco, a lot of what we do is absolutely make products that are better than other products that are in the market. Like we work really hard for that. We've won many product awards of excellence and I'm very proud of it. But, you know, we didn't create cat litter. Cat litter exists. We found a better way to do it, a much better way to do it. So sometimes it's not. And I think a lot of businesses are actually just born from doing something better. And usually when you speak to entrepreneurs, and I have a whole lot of friends, most of their businesses are kind of sort of like they were sitting down. I do this all the time. I sit down, I kind of go, oh, that could be a business idea. Just finding things that don't exist that would make my life easier, or just in a conversation, they're sort of everywhere. You just need to tune into it, I think. But I think the key in all of that is start doing something and don't wait. And I think, part of where I've been very successful in my earlier career was that I was always the person that had my paw up saying, well, what else can I do? For all my employers, I wasn't the person that just kind of left to go home at 5 o'clock. Not that I advocate, extended hours. Like, I think it's very important to have time away from the office. But there are things that always need to be done, and there are growth opportunities for you as well as the organization to get involved in them. And I was always that person. I'm very curious and kind of always wanted to help. And, because there are so few people really, it's quite interesting that really do that you stand out, and then you are the one that gets promoted and the one that gets asked for their opinion. And, it's so I think leaning in is a very important thing.
I love looking at what your business actually does. The fact that you can, in one business, have a blueberry facial for dogs, biodegradable doggy bags, and flushable kitty litter made from corn. Like, it just sounds like your business is so multifaceted and has really sort of taken on a life of its own. Is that where your entrepreneurialism, but also your agility and your adaptability has really sort of come in handy?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think you kind of look at those things and you're like, well, how do all these things have a link? But they all link because what they're doing is they're solving the needs of pet owners. People want really awesome care for their animals when they go to a grooming salon. And, usually, someone takes their best friend kind of back of house that they don't get to see where they're taking them, and they're worried they're putting them in a cage. And it's like taking that experience and going, well, I've owned over 50 pets. What would I like the experience to be like? Well, our salon, the first salon in Mossman, is like a human hair salon. It's probably nicer than most of the places that people have their hair cut at. When you come, the puppy or your dog or your cat gets a puppuccino or a kittencino on arrival. You get welcomed to see the salon. Like, sometimes that salon is covered in fur because we have a lot of pets through there in a day. But, you get to see where we're taking you. We have suites where we put the dogs. You get to go and have a coffee next door. It's just continuing to find ways of solving needs. And certainly the Do Good poo bags, which are made out of cornstarch powder, are an environmentally friendly solution to what is 1.5 billion poo bags that go into Mother Earth each year. Who wouldn't want to solve that problem? And then we have another problem where, for cats, they generate 200 kilos of waste a year in litter. And not only are they generating this waste, but most of those litters are made from clay, which is stripped mined from the earth. Like, surely we can come up with a better option than that. And we did. We came up with something that's, an award-winning product called Wee Kitty, and it's even flushable. So, it's really, they all work to solve needs. But you're right, it works off a whole range of products that work to do that.
Yeah, in their Enterprising Girls workshops, we encourage the girls to identify a problem in their community. And it's amazing to see how in tune these young 10 to 18-year-old girls are, just how they're environmentally aware and coming up with these business ideas to solve problems. It's really quite amazing. I just got a question here from Laura. She wants to know, what is the worst or best part of owning a business?
Good question, Laura. Okay, this is a very personal answer, right? So I think the best part is that I get to do a job that I love doing every day, and I get to do it my way. So, I've worked for a lot of other people, and not only do I get to do it my way, but I get to have people on my team that I want on my team. So getting to choose those people to work alongside me, makes me really happy because they're all awesome people. And obviously my mission is to remove the barriers to pet ownership and improve humanity one pet at a time, because pets are proven to be good for our physical and our mental health. And by running Rufus and Coco, it's one way that and the first salon, it's one way that we solve for that. The worst part would have to be the financial pressure, I would say. And just it's like a game of snakes and ladders. 1 minute you're kind of like, woohoo, that's awesome, we're awesome. And the next minute you find another snake or ladder. I can't remember what ladders take you up, aren't they? Yeah. Snakes take you down. Yeah. You get a bloody snake and the snakes take you back down to where you started, and you're just kind of wondering what it's all worth. What's it all for? And as you grow, as we have, so does the financial investment in that. And, that you've got a lot of balls in the air constantly. And I think, that's one of the things that I find very challenging.
I guess it's a test to your resilience then too, if you're constantly hitting these snakes that take you right back to, not the start, but, a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, I'm a tough cookie these days.
How do you become a tough cookie? How do you become resilient? What's your advice to people watching or parents watching who want to build resilience in their children?
Well, it's a different answer for parents. So with my parenting hat on, I would say it's important to let your kids fail. Like, I think that I'm not a big one for the mandate of everyone gets a medal. Like, I think everyone should be congratulated for their effort. But the people that actually, lean in the most, step up the most, win the race, whatever it is, I think they actually deserve the medal. Like, I think it's good to actually feel failure, because failure is actually the best teacher. From the student's perspective, or the so I just lost my train of thought on that. So
for adults now to build resilience.
Oh, resilience.
Yeah.
So I actually think, I think it's like a muscle. It's a bit like confidence. People say to me, how did you get to be so, confident with that? And I actually think, you just have to keep, it's like a muscle. You have to keep using the muscle. And can I tell you, it hurts, right? Using muscles hurt. You have to keep fronting up to what really scares you and doing it until you're good at it. And I think that's the confidence piece. Now, there is, and in terms of resilience, I think just remembering that it's kind of the ability to bend and not break. So you're sort of just working on, I think it's good to test yourself, because if you always do what you can do, that's all you'll ever do. You need to stretch that and see how big you can become. And honestly, like, a lot of my self-development work has been in getting out of my own way, because often we stop ourselves. And so I think that's the thing. Don't stop yourself. Let yourself do it. I think we can do so much more, and we're capable of so much more than we often ever allow ourselves to be, who we ever allow ourselves to be.
This is a good segue into Michaela's question. I'd love to know what your daily mantra is. Do you have some good ones that you can share with us?
I did mantras for a while, Michaela. I don't do that so much now, my mantras, but what I do is I really believe in setting up your day. I really believe in journaling. So having a journal by your bed, and even if the question is, what does happiness look like for me today, or what's the one thing I'm planning to move forward today, something like that. I think the exercise of gratitude is something I do. I do it every night with my children. I ask them, what are you most grateful for today? And we go around the table, and I think that's really good for framing your mind. Like, I think a good day starts with sweat. So I start my day usually with exercise. I believe that food is medicine. So I really try and eliminate too many toxins. Our bodies are supposed to move, and food is really fuel, and it should be treated as such. I think you're really slowing yourself down if you kind of overload your system. I mean, I was having this conversation with the kids the other day about, where your spirit lives, and actually we only get one casing for our spirit, and that's kind of what everyone sees on the outside world. And it's just our jobs to keep it high functioning so that we can function at our best and do everything we're supposed to be doing.
I've got a question here from Paul. He wants to know, what are the top 3 tips you would give someone who's about to start their own business?
Top 3 tips. Okay, so I would say be clear on what it is that you're doing and why it is different, and make sure that there's a need for that in the marketplace. Because I think a lot of people kind of go, oh, I'm just going to do that. And then it's kind of exactly the same as the next one and the next one and the next one. It's very hard to sustain a business that way. You might get a business up, but you're not going to be able to sustain it. So working very hard on your product offering and your service offering and make sure it's clearly differentiated, which kind of leads me to my next point. Who are your customers and what would that proposition mean to them? Because ultimately you need to sell this clever idea to somebody, and is that something they're going to pay money for? You know, it's important to know your customers intimately, and you know, so that you can be sure, I suppose, that there's a market gap for your offering. Lastly, I would say do something that you love, because I think that's the thing that when things get tough, you're going to keep going. You know, it's the thing that's going to drive you to keep going.
Great. Now, I know pets were some of the big winners from COVID.
Yeah.
There was a huge spike in spending, or up 40%. And I guess people just at home looking after their furry friends. How did the pandemic affect your business?
It's been so interesting. So it's had the reverse effect. You know, certainly we've talked about the pet industry being recession proof, as we found in the last recession in Australia, and now we can say it's COVID proof. We've seen an unprecedented rise in pet ownership all around the world, and in particular in Australia, to the point where, you know, from a supply and demand perspective, breeders are now charging 3 to 4 times that they normally would to get a breed of dog. Initially, when COVID hit, you know, one of the products that we sell is the cat litter that I mentioned before. And as it turns out, that's like toilet paper just for cats. And so we saw people stockpiling, you know, like squirrels shoving nuts in their cheeks, lots of cat litter. So we have seen some stockpiling for that. But probably the winner in our overall product range has been the tethering. So what warms my heart is that everyone's sitting at home with Rufus or Coco and taking them for walks, and they've all kind of looked down and gone, oh, geez, you could do with a new collar, or this lead's a bit old, you know, because we've all had our worlds have become so much more inward looking, and we've had a chance to notice some of the small things that we probably wouldn't otherwise notice. And you know, it's been brilliant to see. I think like in terms of mental health for Australians, I'm so happy that so many people have turned to their, you know, best friends to get that support, because it's been a very difficult time for us two-legged folk.
Definitely. I've got a question here from Miriam, who wants to know, do you think it is harder or easier to be a business owner as a girl or woman?
You know, I think it doesn't make a difference, Miriam. I think that I mean, I've been very fortunate to be noticed because I am a woman doing well in business, and men wouldn't be noticed the same, you know, because there are fewer doing it. Now, whilst I say that, there are some statistics that suggest that, you know, 99% of businesses don't get to $1 million, and of those that do, only 4% are female. So then you ask the question, well, what happened to the rest of them? And I think what happens is I think life responsibilities become perhaps too much of a juggle. But I think the other big thing is financing. And I think, but there are so many brilliant programs now in Australia to get the appropriate level of finance. And you guys are in the perfect generation to, you know, I just hope that you don't have any barriers to starting up and getting the support in your businesses that you need.
Right. Well, I know you mentor a number of women. I think you said 6 recently. How important is that to you, for women supporting women? And do you think there's enough in Australia?
I think you can always, like, the easiest way to get a mentor is to ask. I think people, and probably this is actually quite a big difference in the genders as well, is that women often don't ask, whereas men, it's kind of just assumed that someone is going to help them. They don't have that kind of, resistance to sort of asking for help. So I think there are women that are prepared to mentor kind of everywhere. And I think having a mentor is fundamentally, or mentor or a community of people such as the Academy of Enterprising Girls, which is, such an awesome framework to get support with your ideas and the encouragement. I think, for the work that I do with women, I love it. I mean, the challenges that women have, especially when sort of family comes into the piece, it is very different to men. And so I think that it's great to get the support from somebody else that actually understands those challenges, for sure. But definitely getting a mentor is a brilliant step forward. Jim Rohn says you're the average of the 5 people that you spend most of your time with. So if you think about it, who is it that you surround yourself at school, outside of school in your groups, what's happening at home, what's happening, in all the communities that you belong to. And, certainly being around people that actually are enabling you, not holding you back, that's really key.
I know we've spoken about building a sense of resilience in our children. What about encouraging that entrepreneurial spirit, making sure that kids think that they can be their own boss one day? How do you go about that as a mother?
Well, I feel very lucky because, of course, I've got the businesses. And so from when the kids were young, I would bring them to the outdoor events with me. And even now, Saskia, my daughter, who's 13, she works in the fur salon as a junior dog washer. And, they earn money for doing that. I remember when I took Saxon, he was probably about 6, to one of the outdoor events. And he said to me, "Oh, Mummy, I can't talk to these people," like he was like terror, like this look of terror in his face. And I said, "You'll be fine. Stand at the front and squeeze the dog toy and ask them if they've seen Rufus and Coco before, or I ask them a question, or just show the dog the toy, or, and now he's got no hesitation, which goes back to my earlier point about completely terrified, but did it anyway. And, once you do that a few times, all of a sudden your circle grows of experience. And you've got, next time, he's no hesitation in doing that now.
Yeah, right.
So it's putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations. I remember another instance where Saskia decided that we used to, on a Sunday afternoon, make, I was doing the easy dinner thing where I used to barbecue sausages and put them in buns, and kind of that was dinner done. We lived next to a playground. And all the dads in the playground on a Sunday afternoon decided that they liked the smell of the sausages. Of course you do. Who doesn't love the smell of a barbie? And Saskia kind of caught wind of it, and she said, "Mummy, I think I could sell these in the playground." And so I said, "That's fine." And I said, "That's fine. But what we're going to do is you need to figure out how much to sell them for. We're going to go up the road, buy the buns, buy the sausages." And so she was handing over her money to buy the buns and buy the sausages. And she was like, "I can't believe those sausages was $10. And I'm like, "That's right." So the buns and the sausages cost us $16. Like, I'm just using this as an example. Yeah. What price do you need to sell them for to make money, to make it worthwhile? She was like, so it was like that, just a simple exercise. And, she sold all those, fortunately to the fathers, in the playground that Sunday. It was a lot of support from her mother. But I didn't get paid, actually. But
volunteer.
It's the simple things, I think, isn't it? It's it's a simple exercises you can do.
Yeah, amazing. Well, you should definitely get her onto the Academy for Enterprising Girls.
Yes.
It's all about budgeting. And I do have one question that's just come through. Rufus and Coco, at the online academy, you do have to come up with a name. How did you develop Rufus and Coco? Where did that come from?
Oh, I love that. So the thing is, the gap in the marketplace is actually about people. The gap that I saw for the business is about people humanizing their pets, right? This is about people treating their pets like people and like their best friends. So it's an emotive thing. It's not a functional, it had to have an emotive name.
Right.
So what I actually did is I tried very hard myself to brainstorm a name. And don't forget, my background's in marketing and branding, so I wasn't completely clueless as to how to come up with this name. But that said, every time I tried, I completely failed, because I'd go onto IP Australia and then I'd sort of go, oh, dang, someone else thought of that. I thought that was really smart. And so then what I did is I organized a lot of my clever girlfriends. See, this is the thing as well about finding your tribe, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these friends still are my close girlfriends today. And around the dining table with a bit of red wine and some brainstorming, we came up with several names. And actually, I did this 3 times. And so it wasn't on the first pass that we actually came up with a name. And I remember my girlfriend Fleur standing up from the table, and I said, what about Rufus and Coco? And she said, yeah, that could work. You know, she's walking on the way to the kitchen. And so that night, I think I was checking out if that was taken. I went, okay, well, that's the name.
Right.
But, you know, like so that's how we became that name. I think the other thing to consider is, you know, how does the name sound? And, you know, there's masculine and feminine in the name, and the name is very common pet names. And so, you know, there was a bit of science behind how we actually created it. And of course, I've got a Coco now, and we have a Rufus that comes to the office. So
your mascots. Look, I won't take up any more of your time. I just wanted to thank you so much for your insights. I'm sure you've inspired lots of people watching. I do also want to let everyone know that the Academy for Enterprising Girls is open, taking enrollments now for Aussie girls aged 10 to 18, where they can kickstart their business journeys and learn how to develop their own companies in under a day. And that's enterprisinggirls.com.au. So thank you again, Annika. It was a pleasure to meet you.
It's such a pleasure, and good luck, everyone. I look forward to hearing what you managed to create.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Thank you.